Thank you, Arun. Good evening, Bangalore. So we had a very interesting discussion about the pains that the private equity players have in creating a fund, and probably one of the important things being the taxation. So probably this is what the government had in mind when they kind of passed regulations for starting a new platform. Giving a brief, I'm from National Stock Exchange. My name is Seema Nayak. So I'm sure all of you here are aware of NSE. Well, I'm not too sure how many of you are aware of the market share that we have. We rarely talk about it. Any guesses? Any random guess? Sorry? Yeah, perfect number. Very rarely do I get a number of, number that is right. I'm sure this gentleman is investing in securities to be knowing of it. Because people who are not actually investing are really not aware of the fact that NSE has 80% of the market share. What I feel personally is the fact that for us to have, we are a very young organization, just about 21 years old, and for an organization as young as just 21 to have a market share of 80% and to have retained it for all these 21 years has been a challenge. But I think the answer to this from NSE's perspective has been that we have continuously questioned the status quo, redefine the securities market, and try to bring about paradigm shifts, keep changing things, and all this while, when you do that, you have to keep your ear to the ground, listen to what the customer wants. While till a few years back, our concentration was on the product basket side, and we have a very healthy basket of product by now. Last 3 years, we've been concentrating on the corporate side as well. So I'm here to talk about the offerings that we have on the corporate side. On the corporate side, we have, starting from the right, main board. So what we realized is that we have a listing platform which has evolved so much over the period of years that the size of issues that you are currently seeing are upwards of 200 crores. Obviously, listing platform is away from the hands of entrepreneurs who are on growth stage. You would have had to cross that stage to reach the listing platform of today's age. So we needed to create more platforms which will probably catapult the high growth potential companies into the listing stage. So which is why we have the SME platform and the ITP platform. Today we'll talk more about the ITP platform. The ITP platform actually is a genesis of what the discussions that the private equity players and the VCs had with the then finance minister. And I think one of the key constructs here is the tax pain that has been addressed. We'll come to it as we go further in this slide. But to explain to you what an ITP platform is, it is a platform for listing of startup and new age companies. Now, it's probably an equivalent of NASDAQ that is being attempted. Right? So the opportunity here is to list with an IPO or without an IPO, which means it also gives you an opportunity to list without raising funds from the public. Now, why would you want to list without raising funds from the public? Any attempt to raise funds from the public would require you to dilute 25% of your stake. At an early stage, you may or may not be ready for such kind of dilution. So you may want to get the benefits of listing without actually raising funds from the public. So let's have a detailed look into the platform. So this is a stage, these are the various stages that a company goes through, right from the startup stage to the early stage, growing phase, and the large company. And on the right, you're seeing the different kind of investors that kind of participate in the growth journey of a company. NSE Emerge, the SME exchange, is positioned in the first 3 stages. Basically, it brings about convergence of sophisticated investors and, the high growth companies. Now, who is eligible to list on this platform? Any company which has a high technology background, which is in high use of technology, there are just 2 criteria. If you are a high technology based company, then you need to have at least 25% of investment from an AIF or a VC or a PE. And if you are not a technology based company, then this investment needs to be 50%. That's the only qualifying criteria for you to list on the ITP platform. Now let's look at the process of listing. Well, the process has been kept really simplified because current listing process on the main board is probably a very tedious one, which would probably put off a lot of prospective SMEs and ITPs because they're too busy doing their own business to get involved in kind of a derailing listing process. So the process goes like this: you prepare a draft information memorandum. The IM, which as it is called, contains basic data of the company. It is basically a very concise version of the DRHP document. So you will have financials of the company, the objectives of the company, the main suppliers, the main customers, so on and so forth. So it's basically, in a sense, biodata of the company. So there's a format which is available, which needs to be filled. It will probably run into 14 to 15 pages. Then you file this document with SEBI. SEBI will give its comments and observations. You file it with the exchange and SEBI simultaneously, and exchange will give its approval. Once the exchange is approved, you're ready for listing. It's as simple as that. And you have to list within 30 days of seeking approval. One of the key constraints that the investors in the startups have is about lock-ins. So this has specifically been addressed here. So entire pre-issue of shareholders is locked in for a period of 6 months from the date of listing. The exceptions being, if there is a VC which is invested or a PE which is invested, and AIF which is there, then the lock-in for applicable for them is 1 year from the date of investment, which means that if at the time of investment, the investment is 8 months old, then post-listing, the lock-in will be only for 4 months. Lock-in is not applicable for anybody who, other than promoters, who has invested in the company about at least a year ago from the date of listing, and also for the ESOPs that have been given before listing. Now let's come to the other offering that the ITP platform has. It also allows you to raise funds from the public. But when you are raising funds from the public on an ITP platform, you are not going to be treated as any different from the main board company. So you will have to prepare a DRHP document, and you'll have to seek SEBI's approval, NSE's approval, and so on and so forth. One key challenge here, keeping in mind that this is a high-risk investment, is that the minimum application size here is 10 lakhs, and the minimum number of allottees that you need to have is 200, which means that the minimum IPO size that you can come out with will be rupees 20 crores. So even the trading lots will be in multiples of 10 lakh. This is to ensure that you do not get retail investors into the market. This is only for the informed, sophisticated investors. So from that perspective, the trading lot as well as the application size has been kept at rupees 10 lakh, and 10 lakh is the value that we are talking about. The mode of allotment and subscription is very much akin to the main board, which means you'll have to offer it 75% to the public and 25% to the institutional investors. The lock-in is again the same. It will be for a period of 6 months from the date of allotment. One major advantage of the ITP platform with listing is that it offers you an opportunity to actually go on to the main board. The listing, on the main board that we have, where we have the Tatas and the Reliances of the world. So 3 years from the date of listing on the ITP board, you are allowed to migrate. It's a migration from the ITP board to the main board. So all you have to do is exit from the ITP board and migrate into the main board. So it's an automatic migration. So you will not be made, the criteria that is applicable to the main board will not be made applicable to the companies which are migrating from ITP platform to the main board. However, of course, the hygiene checks will be there. If you have had compliance history, if you have had negative compliance history, that will definitely be considered. So as long as the hygiene checks are, you're clearing the hygiene checks, you can migrate onto the main board platform. This is only after 3 years. It's again an option. If you do not want to migrate to the main board platform, you can continue to be on ITP platform. The advantage of moving on to a main board platform is that then your lot size becomes 1. You can even trade a 1 Reliance share on the main board, which would become applicable to your company as well. And of course, it's subject to exchange eligibility criteria. At the moment, the only thing that the exchanges are applying are the hygiene checks that I mentioned about. So how do you exit from ITP? Now, let's say you do not want to kind of migrate to the main board, but you want to exit from the ITP platform. Well, it's the it's been kept very simple. Again, this was a suggestion that had come from the PE and the VC industry that, the exit has to be simple. So the exit is only by passing a board resolution, and you have to have a stock exchange approval. So the exits have been kept that very simple. Now, what are the benefits, what are the value adds that the company would get, that a startup company would get if it is getting listed on ITP platform? Well, you have higher visibility and credibility. You will be visible across 250,000 terminals that NSE has. We use the same infrastructure. I mean, you will be trading on the same screen that you trade a Reliance or Infosys. So you get the same visibility as these kind of companies, which means the moment you are listed, you are available across 2,500 cities in every district of the country. Regulatory relaxation, so in comparison to the main board, one, eligibility criteria itself, you get a regulatory relaxation. Second, you need to make only quarterly submissions as against, you need to make only half-yearly submissions as against quarterly submissions required on the main board. Of course, you may still be giving ESOPs, but at the moment, your employees do not have an option but to come to you in case they want to liquidate their ESOPs, which kind of obviously puts a bar on the advantage that the ESOP contains. So if you provide them a regulated mechanism for liquidating their ESOPs, then it's definitely thumbs up. So ESOPs is one thing that would be one attraction. And of course, you could use your shared certificate as a currency. If today, if you are doing an M&A, you will probably have to, give money and roll out the checks. You'll have to cut out the checks, but that may not be required once you are a listed company, because then you have a valuation and you could trade your shares when you are doing mergers and acquisition. That could be a very big advantage. Of course, it sets the stage for getting on to the main board, because you are getting used to the kind of compliances that a listed company is needed to observe. So that would be an additional advantage that you could have. What are the benefits for the investors? Now, one key challenge with investors is monitoring. I think we were earlier discussing about the challenges of, not getting enough retail investors. One thing that probably the retail investor would worry about while investing in a startup company is his ability to monitor what is happening with the money that he has invested. If you are actually listed, he knows what is happening. There is transparency. And if you create this kind of an ecosystem, you would probably be able to pull in more retail investors. Faster decision making. Now, another thing, key reason why investors are not able to take a decision is, again, lack of data. Once you have data with you, they'll probably be able to take decisions faster. Exit and liquidity, so you're giving them a regulated platform to make exits, which will ensure better portfolio churns. We also talked about, I told you that, one point that was made was that exits have been difficult. This would probably ease the exits that the VCs and PEs are looking for. And also, the taxation that was put up as a pain area, it addresses that, because if you are actually doing this exits on the exchange board, then what you are attracting is only the securities transaction tax as against the LTCG. So that could be a major advantage and a major incentive for getting companies in your portfolio listed on the ITP platform. So that's very much a very brief presentation on the ITP platform. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you would have about the platform. The key challenge with this platform has been, awareness. Not many people are aware that there is a platform, that there is such an opportunity to kind of get listed. And our challenge has been that, when you're talking about 25% investment by an AIF or a PE, obviously the decision-making moves from the company to the PE or the AIF which has invested in the company. So of whether to get listed or not to get listed. So we've been actively creating awareness campaigns across the PE VC community as well as the startup community. So I want to hear from you of your views, your comments, your questions, any clarifications that you would have. this new platform has been introduced only in August 2015. So the other advantage that we have as of now, and I can afford to stand here and ask for your comments, is because SEBI is still open to kind of, make any changes that might be required on this platform. They have, in fact, gone on public forum and said that in case there are any changes that is required, they'd be very happy to hear from the investor fraternity as well as the startup community. So if there's anything that you have to say, I'd be very happy to take it back. Yeah. So the question there is, do you have a list of consultants, as in?
For this ITP platform, do you have a list of consultants which are there on the site?
Are you asking me that is there an intermediary which will help you to get listed?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is an ecosystem that needs to get created. We do have a list of consultants.
I think that should be the first step. What you need to do is, because you need to create a list of consultants so that people can go on the site and talk to those people.
So there are two things that can be done. One is the existing merchant bankers will be very happy to kind of help you through the journey. So we could introduce you to the merchant bankers, but some of the companies which have actually been looking at it, have been doing it through their own chartered accountants and company secretaries, because they feel at this moment, I really do not want to incur a merchant banker. One thing with the startups and these SMEs
cost
is the
is also a factor.
Cost becomes a major factor. So they've also been doing that. So there is no regulatory requirement for you to kind of get in touch with a merchant banker. Any external consultant would probably add to your charges, but we'll be very happy to introduce you to any consultant that you may want to talk to.
Thank you.
So, like I said, you have 10 lakh value and 200 minimum allottees, which means that you have to minimum raise 20 crores on this platform. But of course, there's an opportunity to list without raising any. So you have two sub-platforms. One is where you can list without raising any money, and the second platform is where you will have to raise minimum of 20 crores from the public.
Ma'am, what you're saying is it's not important that whatever is the company's capital, that's okay, no? But if they
No, there's absolutely no criteria there.
No criteria.
No
Only
criteria
thing is if
there.
they want to get
You're talking about the paid up capital.
Yeah, yeah.
No, absolutely no criteria there.
Okay, thanks.
But by the time you want to go to the main board, when we talked about the exchange criteria, you will need to be minimum a 10 crore paid up capital company to migrate onto the main board.
That's 3 years later.
After 3 years.
Okay.
Is there any time duration that within what span of time the company should have been registered?
There is absolutely no other criteria other than the fact that either you have 25% if you're a technology-based company or 50% of investment from a QIB.
So there's no timeline criteria?
There's absolutely no. It's actually been, otherwise, you would probably defeat the purpose of enabling startups to list.
Right. Thanks.
No, there is, right now we have actually not got even a single company listed on this platform. Like I said, it's just recently, August 2015, and it took some time for the regulations to come out and all that stuff. So as of now, we are yet to open the account on this platform. So right now, the entire energies are towards creating an awareness about the platform.
Is it possible to shift to main board before 3 years?
No, it is not possible to shift to main board before 3 years unless you are already satisfying the main board criteria. Then you can exit from the ITP platform and directly apply to main board. In that case, all the criteria that is currently applicable to the main board company would become applicable to you.
Okay.
But honestly, if you're already that bigger company, you'd probably not be taking the ITP route. That's my personal opinion. So would you like me to tell you a little bit about the SME platform also that we have? So the second platform that we are talking about is the SME platform. Now, this platform is for the high growth companies. Like ITP is probably for the startups. This is for companies who have actually seen a little bit of growth and are poised for the high potential spurt in the near future. So here the criteria that we are looking for is that any company which is less than rupees 25 crore paid up capital. So here we are looking at a paid up capital cutoff. So, and we are talking about face value here, and I'm talking about post-issue paid up capital should be less than rupees 25 crores. So any company which has a post-issue paid up capital of less than rupees 25 crores is eligible to list on the SME platform. And the other two criteria that we are applying is that it should have at least 3 years of track record and 2 years of positive accruals. Now, these two criteria have been, added on by NSE. The idea is that when you are trying to seek investments from public, I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the investors. Would you want to invest in a company which doesn't have a track record? You would probably want a minimum of track record and an assurance that, you'll probably get some returns on it. So these are the two additional criteria that have been kept. Again, the listing process is very simple. All the DRHP needs to be prepared, but in case of an SME listing, you need to necessarily engage with a merchant banker, because for any public issue offering, you have to have a merchant banker with you. So you have to necessarily engage with a merchant banker and then get on to the SME platform. On the SME platform, you can migrate onto the main board post 2 years of your listing. Here, the minimum trading allotment size and the trading lot size is rupees 1 lakh. So, but there is no cap on the minimum amount that you need to raise from the public. Like in the previous platform that we talked about, when you're talking about 200 investors and you're talking about 10 lakhs of investment per investor, you obviously need to have at least a 20 crore issue. But here there is no minimum requirement for you to kind of raise capital from the public. This platform, we already have around 34 companies which are listed. One company is migrated onto the main board. And what we have realized is that this platform is actually propelling the small companies into medium and medium companies into large. It's actually hastening the pace of the companies that will be moving on to the main board. The cost of getting listed is also very minimal. I mean, it's a fraction of what it would cost you to get listed on the main board. In fact, we have been talking in a couple of months, or probably in a couple of weeks, we'll be probably announcing one of Bangalore-based companies, which is also going to get listed on the platform. So the experience of the promoters on this platform, this got started sometime in September 2012, has been very, very positive. Now, ITP rules got changed and it got introduced only in August 2015, and this is a totally new animal for the startups. So, we'll probably have to work that much harder to kind of try and get, it's always difficult to get the first company in. Once you have a precedent, it's that much easier. Even on the SME platform, we have the promoters talking to the other promoters, about their experiences. So this platform is relatively for the high growth companies. If you have any questions about this platform also, I'm more than willing to answer. Here the number of minimum allottees is just 50. So you need to have 50 allottees when you are coming up with an IPO issue. Yet another advantage of this platform is that there is what we call hard underwriting. What it means is that once you are through the process and you open the IPO, so once the issue is open, there is always a chance, whether on main board or on SME board, that your issue is not fully subscribed. See, the challenge with the SMEs is that they're locally known, okay? They're not known across the country. So there could be a possibility that you open your issue and it is not fully subscribed. And by then you would have already sunk in some money. Now, when we were discussing about this platform with the regulators, one thing that both the regulator and exchange was very sure about is that, you can't leave an SME in lurch. You can't say, no, you spent that much money, sorry, the issue is not subscribed, the issue, we call the issue of failure. So what has been done is that, there is hard underwriting, which means that the merchant banker will have to kind of subscribe to the balance issue, that portion of the issue which is not subscribed. So once you are in this game, it's, 100% assured that you'll be able to raise the money. Now, speaking on the merchant banker's part, obviously nobody is going to take a hit on themselves. So no merchant banker is going to take a company unless and until he is completely satisfied about the fact that he'll be able to raise money for this company. So it ensures a complete due diligence of the company by the merchant banker before he is taking you on board. This is another feature. Now, speaking about experience on SME platform, we are talking about 50 investors, and usually, let me take an example of a company, Vito Switchcare. This company is a Jaipur-based company, and it has 80% of market share in switchboards in Jaipur, okay? And it's the second company that we got listed, so obviously we didn't have too much of a track record, and with the SME companies, on the main board, NSE meets the company, NSE would probably get introduced to the company only on the day of listing. Like if an Indigo was getting introduced on the day of listing, when they came to ring the bell, is when we would have met the Indigo team. But with the SME team, it's like from the point of identifying the company to the company getting listed, and even post-listing, we handhold the company. In fact, so much so is the kind of rapport that we develop with the entire team in the company that I often joke with my team that when the listing ceremony actually happens, some of us feel that it's our company that is getting listed. So that's the kind of rapport we have. Coming back to the Vito example that I was talking to you about, Vito was a second company, and we were helping them with the roadshow for getting investors. We are already halfway through into the listing process, and we were planning the roadshows. And this gentleman said, see, ma'am, we'll have to finish this discussion by Friday or whatever, because Saturday I'm having a supplier meet, and I need to be there for the supplier meet. So one of us just came up with this idea, why not introduce this idea, why not announce in the suppliers meet that this company is coming out with an IPO? And the promoter rubbished our idea. He said, these are small people, they don't understand IPO, they won't invest. So he said, we know they don't invest, let's just try. For want of any better option, let's just try. And you wouldn't believe, the next day, we had put up a small table and a registration desk just to keep tab of who is interested. There was a queue there. And the promoter was almost driven to tears because, one, of course, he was getting his investment. More than that, he told me the fact that the kind of confidence that this people put in him actually moved him. So once we had this success, we did a roadshow with the customers. You won't believe that between the suppliers, customers, dealers, and the employees, we had the issue totally subscribed. And till this date, and on the day of the listing also, this promoter mentioned one thing which I think I'll never forget in my life. He said that, I'm so happy that, the people who helped me grow to this level are the ones who have participated in my issue, and they are the ones who will benefit. Let me just add, the company got listed at an issue price of ₹60. So it was a 10 rupee, 50 rupee premium issue. So they got listed at issue price of 60. They gave a bonus in this period of 2 years. And after the bonus, they migrated to the main board. Today the company is trading at a price of ₹115. And just a couple of weeks ago, the promoter had called me up, and he was very excited. And he said, one of these analysts, stock market analysts, has, written about us. And I said, okay, what has he written? So he says, he said, invest in 1 year, the stock price is going to double. So, you introducing the securities market to a whole new genre of SME companies. And at NSE, we believe that, these SMEs are going to be the future. To share yet another example, this is a small company from Gujarat, very small company from some small town in Gujarat, and this entrepreneur actually got a call from Germany. He is into solar energy, and he got a call from a company in Germany which has evinced interest in investing in his company. It's not yet through, and the discussions are at very early stage, but this guy is so excited. The day he got the call, I think I was the first person to get a call from him, and he says, ma'am, I got a call from Germany. How would a company in Germany know that I existed had I not got listed? So, you never know who's looking at you when you are a listed company. So the point that we made about attracting investments is probably not appreciated as much. So it's important that, we share these examples with you so that you know that it's a reality in that sense. And in fact, there's yet another case where the company, this promoter who had, how do SMEs function? They'll probably start their own capital, then go to banks, and probably banks are the mainstay source of capital for most of the SMEs. And of course, banks will ask you for collateral. So this guy had given his house papers as collateral against a loan. After he got listed, in about 8 months' time, he actually put his shares and got his house back. So, these people share these kind of stories with us. I could go on actually. So probably at some point of time, somebody will have to ring a bell. So in case you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer about them. Yeah.
SME platform, there is no requirement of 25% VCP.
No. There is no. So there are two different platforms. There are two completely different platforms. So that is the IT Play platform. This is the SME platform. So there are two different platforms and totally different eligibility requirement. So for the ITP, it is 25% investment, minimum of 25% investment. For SME, it is your paid up capital, less than 25 crores, which is never a hurdle. 3-year track record and 2-year positive accruals, and that too at EBITDA level, because we know that the interest and depreciation is high with SMEs. Yes.
When you said this platform is basically for high growth SMEs, then why do you have the profit criteria? Because see what happens, you look at all the NASDAQ listed companies.
There is no profit criteria.
No, in SME platform you said no, there is a profit criteria.
As in, we are saying positive accruals at EBITDA level. See, so you have to be, and even there, this is an NSE criteria, it's not a regulatory criteria, so we can look at companies which do not fulfill the criteria, but which will have high potential. But I would really not want to kind of encourage that, because for you to get investors, you're talking about raising money from public. So it becomes a little tough. Unless and until you're very sure and you can ensure that, you can assure your merchant banker of the fact that money can be raised in a company which is doing losses. And I'm again repeating, we're talking at EBITDA level. So if you're not even reached positive in EBITDA level, then to garner money from the public would be difficult. And I'll tell you why this check has been kept. These platforms are very vulnerable in the sense that they can be used for multiple purposes. So it started with a good intent, but if you're raising less than 1 crore and if you have no profits and you're still able to raise money, personally, taking off the NSE hat, I would really worry about the reason why the company is getting listed. So I've spent 15 years with NSE and I have done 7.5 years in surveillance and investigation. So, I keep going back to that. So I would be really worried about the intentions of getting listed.
Look at Amazon. Amazon became only profitable much later. It was a loss-making company
So
for
I'm
15
not
years,
saying
but a
that we
very
are going
high-growth company.
That's what. We'll have to take it on a case-to-case basis. I cannot put it down as a criteria, is
Okay.
what I'm trying to
So
say.
if it's a
If
loss-making
there is
company but
merit,
good company,
I put it as a criteria that, it's okay. Then I will have...
so you have the discretion, but you
we
can
have a
waive it.
discretion. We have a discretion.
Okay, got
In
it.
fact, maybe I can let you know here that there is one company under consideration.
Okay.
So it goes to a listing committee, which will kind of take a decision. So we will give you an opportunity to present yourself.
Okay, got it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's one more question. I'll take that last question.
Where does trading of these stocks happen? Like in the SME platform, who are the people who trade with these stocks?
So the minimum criteria for trading is that you have to trade in multiples of rupees 1 lakh.
No, I'm talking.
Yeah,
as
I'm
a
coming to that.
As a company, I'm going to list here.
Yeah, so you
Who
trade
is going
on
to
the
buy
same.
and sell my stocks?
Do you have do you do trading?
No, I'm saying as a point of view. As
No,
a
I'm sorry, that is a personal question. But if you're trading, it's the same platform where you trade your, if you have a mobile app, you could trade it through on the same screen where you trade your Infosys and a Reliance or any other stock
No,
for that
as a
matter.
company, if I'm putting myself on the SME platform,
You to get listed.
yes, I'm getting listed as.
So you to
So
approach us.
who buys and sells our stocks?
It's the investors. It's the same guys. See, as long as you have the capacity to invest 1 lakh,
Yeah.
you're welcome to invest. So basically the cap of 1 lakh is to ensure that you have people with risk appetite investing in the platform. That's it. So
But where does-
anybody can invest.
What I was trying to get to is NSE has a separate this thing on the television which shows that all the different companies are there. This will probably not show there because it's a different platform.
No, it shows is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, it shows, okay.
So basically, if you are talking, if you go onto the NSC screen and you type Reliance,
Yeah.
the segment that is there is EQ, which stands for equity.
Yeah, okay.
And if you're probably wanting to buy Vito, so then the segment is SM.
Okay, all right. Okay,
That's the only difference that you
okay,
have.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Did I see another hand go up here? No. Okay, we have one lady who wants to answer.
Yes, ma'am. See, generally you see that trading is happening now. So like, for example, if Tata Steel is 250 rupees, here you say that there is an amount minimum 1 lakh. So do you mean to say that there is 1 lakh amount needed to be invested by the investors to buy the stock and ITP platform?
So you said Tata Steel is available for rupees 250. So currently, if you want to buy one share of Tata Steel, you can buy it for rupees 250. So had it, I mean, let's change, if XYZ was listed on SME platform, then it would, the trading lot would not be one, but would be a multiple so that you get a 1 lakh value.
Okay, okay, okay. I
So
understand.
you have to minimum invest 1 lakh value. So the lot size will be such that your value will be at least rupees 1 lakh. It cannot be less than rupees 1 lakh.
So is it the same for ITP and SME platform? Ma'am? Is it the
ITP
same
is
1
10 lakh. ITP is 10 lakh
Okay.
because they were talking about really early stage companies, and SME is 1 lakh. So ITP, the series is IT, the SME series is SM. That's the only, the platform, everything else, the infrastructure that NSE uses for the main board is the infrastructure that we use for these securities also.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.